Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Best of 2022, brought to you by Get Your Geek On. I'm Robert. With me is Aaron, and we've got Peter back again. We're talking another Star Wars series. This one, another favorite of ours from 2022, Andor, which of course is the prequel show to the movie Rogue One, starring Diego Luna as Cassian Andor, also including Stellan Skarsgård. We had, I'm trying to remember now the name of the actress of Genevieve O'Reilly is Mon Mothma, and several other characters that we'll recognize and we'll talk about as we get into this. But this was one of our favorite shows of the year, and we wanted to talk about it, and we wanted to talk about whether or not we were going to recommend it. Aaron, I'm going to start with you this time. Andor, I think, is your favorite Star Wars series, I believe, and I want you to tell me why.
I think it really was one of my favorites, if not my favorite. Again, I think I've said it throughout all the times we talk about Star Wars. I do not care for Luke Skywalker stuff or any Skywalker stuff anymore. I'm so tired. I'm tired of hearing 10 movies now about Skywalkers. I need somebody else. Like, the one thing I always say is I want to know what's going on in the other corner of the universe.
Right.
I mean, I want to know what's going on, and I got it. That's literally what this was. Is here's the other corner of the universe. Here's what's happening with random guy who really, I mean, when we start out, doesn't care about any of this stuff. He's just kind of like, whatever, it's not my problem. And then it becomes eventually his problem. Yeah. But I think it's one of my favorite shows because it's so far away from the Skywalker stuff, far away from the main storylines. Yes, it connects in with Rogue One, but it's still something that we don't know what's going to happen to anybody. And again, like Robert knows, I hate prequels because of plot protection. We know certain people can't die. The only one we know that can't die is him. Everyone else could technically die. We don't know. And I like that. I like that. It's like, oh, okay, well, this guy has to live. This guy's going to be in the, we don't get all that. It's like, they all might be dead except him. That's all we know. And we get to see more about like the behind the scenes, about the politics and everything else of what's really going on. So I think that's why it's my favorite one, or one of my favorites, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that Andor is probably my favorite live action Star Wars since The Empire Strikes Back. Wow. And that, I mean, I love Return of the Jedi. I'm a fan of Mandalorian. I like some of the Disney Plus movies. Rogue One I thought was really good. I like Force Awakens. I'm not as big on episodes 8 and 9. But what I loved about this series in particular was some of the things you highlighted, Aaron, focusing on that corner of the galaxy that we don't necessarily see as much. There's no force users. There's no lightsabers. What we are focusing on is the human story. And we're talking about people that are, it's the age old story. It's like, are you trying to survive or are you trying to, overthrow the oppressor, right? It's like you have, and at the beginning, Andor is just trying to survive. He's just trying to make his way in the universe, take care of himself, take care of his family. That's the only thing he cares about. He doesn't care about making a big difference. He doesn't care about overthrowing the empire. He doesn't care about any of those things. He's just trying to get through life, right? And, carve out his own. And, as he encounters different people, whether it be, Nemec with his, little manifesto, or it's the people in the prison that he's, seeing the weight of this oppression that's hitting on them. And, that moment with him and Andy Serkis where they find out that the Empire's just been shuffling prisoners between prisons. Like you think you're getting out, and then they just send you to another prison or another section or whatever that is. And like once you're in the system, you're just there to die. And it's just so powerful to see all of those things. And again, when we talk about the Empire and what they're capable of, this to me is this is the missing piece that we needed, because we see in the origins of the Empire, certainly in the original trilogy. And then we are not the original trilogy, I mean the prequel trilogy. And then we see the Empire kind of what it's become in the original trilogy. But kind of this missing piece of like, how did we get there? How did this really truly happen? And what was going on? And it's just, It's so fascinating. I love the characters. Getting a glimpse into the ISB was awesome. The Imperial Security Bureau. I loved seeing those, and I've always loved those crisp white uniforms. Like they always just have stood out. So now we're getting like a whole room full of those people. It was great. And yeah, I mean, especially the prison arc with Andy Serkis. I mean, that prison escape episode is hands down just one of the best hours of television I've ever watched.
Yeah.
And when Andy Serkis gets on that microphone and talks about getting out of the prison, all the way up to that moment when I'm still debating with myself, did he know that he wasn't going to be able to get out? Because when they arrive, they know they arrive on this water thing, and he knows he can't swim. So it's in my mind, I'm going, did he know the whole time that he wasn't going to be able to escape? Or what did it not hit him until that moment that he went, I'm not going to be able to get off this thing? And either way, I think it's just a beautiful moment, and I think Andy Serkis just knocks it out of the park.
He's such a good actor.
But I mean, I loved this show, and I love getting this glimpse and seeing what characters are willing to sacrifice. I mean, we get a great scene from Stellan Skarsgård talking about all the things he's sacrificed for, and then you don't get the same. It's not a monologue, but it's told through the story of what Mon Mothma has to sacrifice. I mean, she doesn't like her husband very much, but she has to throw him down the river. She has to throw her daughter to the wolves because that's the only way she can do what needs to be done for this rebellion, and that she's willing to do that. She's willing to make that sacrifice. Again, it just speaks to the desperation of these characters, the desperation of people trying to overthrow a fascist state. It was everything I wanted to be. I loved this show from start to finish. I've talked a lot. Peter, you got to jump in. What did you love about Andor?
Well, I heard rumblings about this because everybody has been focused on Boba Fett and Mandalorian season 3 and Obi-Wan, but I like the fact that Andor was totally under the radar, and everybody in one specific YouTuber said, "Don't count this show out yet," and it showed because it's incredibly well acted, and a lot of people said it's boring, but it's like it's the slow burn, and there's that slow buildup, and what I also liked was just the fact that it was basically Star Wars grows up, because you see adult situations here and there, and especially at the very end with Marvel, where she has that hologram. She was originally supposed to say "F the Empire," and they're like, "No, we can't do that.
Fight the Empire." That's what we meant to say.
Yeah, fight the Empire. And but at the same time, what I did like was that with between your both sides, your good guys and your bad guys, not everybody on the rebellion side is entirely good.
Yeah,
because it's really left at one point where after they do that raid to get the all the Imperial credits, Cinta, that one who's just totally hardcore, it's really left up to the imagination. Like, did she kill that
entire room of people? Yeah.
Did she just kill them, or did she lock them? They just left that totally up to you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you also see that not everybody in the Empire is entirely bad, because you had some of the ones who were sympathetic to, like the people on right there where they had the eye, because you had that one lieutenant who said that he had married or he fell in love with one of the locals, and that one who was also I can't remember his name, but he was the real hardcore former stormtrooper, and who had defected. And even then, even that one guy who's in the Empire, that Imperial engineer, as soon as they come in and he says, "Release the child, don't harm the family." He's like, "Okay, you may be a fascist, but you're not. You want to make sure the kid's okay."
Right.
But at the same time, it's you really have that gray area, and the one, of course, Diego Luna did an amazing job. He's nominated for a Golden Globe for this, but the ones that really came under the radar there was Deidre. I forgot the name of the actress who plays her.
Oh yeah, Denise Gao.
Denise Gao, and for one point you're kind of rooting for her at one point because she's the underdog. Like, wait, she's the bad guy. And you just see
Right.
It's like,
and then
wait.
and then you get to see just how evil she can be once she gains power.
Mhm.
I mean, that when
Well,
they torture poor
and
Bix there.
and nothing is scarier than a competent bad guy. And
Hmm.
she is very competent. She is very good at
Oh
her
yeah.
job. And you're
Hmm.
like yeah, as you said at the beginning, we're kind of like, oh, we kind of rooting for her. She's, like, oh, her supervisors aren't listening to her, and like she can't get a leg up. And then yeah, she gets that leg
Oh
up, and
yeah.
you're like, oh no, this is scary. This is terrifying.
No, 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 no.
It's like, please wait.
Yeah. And
Yep.
and poor Cyril, who's there.
Oh
Oh,
man.
that he was and at the same and the funny thing about Cyril is like, he wants to do good, but he's just backing the wrong horse. And at the same time,
Mhm.
it's like this guy's probably never had a girlfriend in his life. Um, probably never been kissed by anyone. But anyways,
Oh,
poor,
um,
poor Cyril.
he's
poor
crying somewhere
We
right
Cyril.
don't really
now.
feel bad for him.
I do.
But then again, especially when everything really comes to a head. When what's neat is with everything being 9-10 episodes there, it's usually that third episode where everything comes to that boiling point where it's
Yeah.
the escape from Ferrex, whether it's the escape from the prison, the escape from the raid that they do, or the right there the uprising there on Ferrex. Whoops, sorry
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
And when they at the same time you also get to see just how bad the Empire can be. I mean, especially in the prison alone, it's like you're vulnerable up there because you're barefoot and they can turn on that thing at any
Oh
time.
yeah.
Oh, yep.
And
I
that's
That was scary, that part. I'd be like, I
yeah.
wouldn't want my feet on that.
Well, and I love, again, we talked about, people in the rebellion aren't necessarily altruistic. That, like there are some people that are willing to cross lines, and you need some of
Hmm.
those people. But Stellan Skarsgård several times talks about, like, we have to make the Empire crack down even harder. Like we won't get to the point, people will be complacent if they don't come down even harder. So we have to
Yeah.
do things
Mhm.
that's going to make them come down harder. And so it's really fascinating to hear that. And it kept making me think of that moment in A New Hope when Leia is talking to Tarkin about the more star
Hmm.
systems you try to hold on to, the more will slip through your grasp. And
Yep.
that's exactly what he was
Yep.
trying to do, is saying
Yeah.
the tighter they try and hold on, that's how we'll be able to overthrow them.
The
But
more you
it
tighten your
requires,
grip,
yeah,
the
but it
more you tighten your grip.
requires this,
Yep.
like just off, like, I mean, so much, again, sacrifice, like throwing an entire group of rebels to as sacrificial lambs, basically. Like, we know the Empire knows about our plan, but if we tip off that we know that they know, then they'll know that we know that they know. Like, it's just, and it's like,
Right.
okay, I'm not going to let them do it, and I'm
Yeah.
going to let these 50 rebels die. So
Yeah.
it is just one of those things where, again, it is a much more mature version of Star Wars,
Hmm.
and it's politics done right. You mentioned politics earlier,
Right.
Aaron. That's something that the prequel era, they were political, but it was not in the right way. And
Right.
these scenes, especially, again, Genevieve O'Reilly on Coruscant, every conversation that she has is just dripping with subtext. There's so
Right.
much going on. There's so many double and triple meanings behind every conversation, and
Yeah.
it's just done so well. The writing in this show was awesome. Yeah, I loved this show. Anything else that we
But
loved that we have to talk about before we get out of here?
but also to kind of touch on with Mon Mothma, you really get to flesh her character out because we really don't know about too much about her from
Yeah.
by the first time we see her in Return of the Jedi, or in her stuff was entirely cut out during episode 3.
Yeah.
And you know that she's in charge, but you really don't know why she's in charge. But this time her character is completely fleshed out, and you're like,
She really was.
she has to tiptoe around a lot of different things here to get this going.
Yeah, she's
And
still in the
really,
belly of the beast,
and at the same
So,
time, she's completely alone in a lot of what she's trying to do. And
yeah.
and I can't get over Andy Serkis's when his speech that he did in this for the prison, and Stellan Skarsgård there, where he was in his final speech, like
Yeah.
where he says, I'm the sunset I'll never see.
Yeah.
I'm and having to take on the tactics of his enemy, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
both of those are like
Oh,
Golden Globe. They should be nominated for
great,
just those
yeah,
speeches
great
alone, and just
monologues,
how.
and the Marva one, in the
Mhm.
hologram form. Like, yeah, there's some really great, again, dialogue and script writing in this show.
and
Um,
and also the B2. You're
oh
but
yeah,
especially at that one point, he was like, oh, it's like you can tell he's having a nervous breakdown because Marva's gone. Nobody knows where Andor is, and he doesn't want to be left alone. You're like,
yeah. We love our
yeah.
droids around here. All right, last
Mhm.
thing as we get out of here, we loved this show. Obviously, you can tell we
Yes,
love this show.
yes.
But who is it for? Who do we recommend Andor for? Do you have to be a hardcore Star Wars nerd? Do you just have to like these types of stories? Can you get into this without having seen movies? Aaron, what do you think?
I really think for this one, you kind of have to know the background for Star Wars enough to enjoy it. I mean, again, I'm more casual, but I say I'm casual, but I think I'm a little above that because I've watched almost everything. But I don't think I would have gotten enough if I hadn't watched a lot of the stuff prior, especially like Rogue One. Knowing what this is leading into, I don't think I would have been. I don't think I would know what's going on. I think this is for the fans. This is for people who truly love Star Wars and want to know what's going on. Like I've said, what's going on in those other parts of the universe. We know
Mm,
what's going on with the Skywalkers in this whole part of the universe. What's going on over here? How did the rebellion get going? How did these plans start getting there? How did this guy get in charge? We're getting all of that. And if you want to
Mhm.
get that fleshed out, I think this is perfect.
Yeah.
you agree,
But
Peter?
Yeah, to a certain extent, but also I think this would also be for people who maybe want casual fans, or even if you're not a fan at all, you're really kind of drawn into a lot of stuff and how like y'all have been saying, it has nothing to do with the Skywalker trilogy or Jedi's at all.
Yeah.
mhm.
It's like meanwhile in another part of the galaxy later that same day.
Yeah.
Um, and people just trying to survive, and it's like even though you may not want to be involved in this fight, it becomes your fight.
Sure.
It becomes you're drawn in. It's like you have to pick a side. You're either going to be on the side of the Empire, or you're going to rebel against it,
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
I
you're
I
really
think this
caught.
is
Yeah.
sorry, I was gonna say I think this is actually a really good entry point for Star Wars
Yes.
because you can just get in and understand what it's about. But anyways, we love Andor. We want you to love Andor too. We'll be back again talking about another show or movie, more of our favorites, coming up soon. Stay geeky, guys.